Hi, I'm Keith McCullough, and I wanted to introduce you to my favorite product at Hedgeye, the Macro Show. Why is it my favorite product? Well, it's my show. I do that every morning. This is what we're trying to do, is get you ready for the market day. It's not just for short-term people or intermediate-term people or long-term people. It's for everyone. If you want to get ready for the market day, you want to contextualize all the data, you want to know what to do, you want to make good decisions, then this is what you should be watching. For 15 minutes, I go through my own content, our own data. We're very much data dependent. It has nothing to do with politics. And then after that, we take your questions. So it's a live Q&A. I try to answer anything that you're asking me about. Just to give you a little background on this Macro Show and where it came from, we started Hedgeye in 2008 in New Haven, Connecticut. And what I would do is I'd have a morning call. Institutional investors, that's all we had as clients back then, they'd dial into a morning call. I'd rant about what it is that I thought was going to happen in the market that day, and they'd ask me questions. So that's a lot different than today, where of course we have a live and interactive video. We have a lot of really interesting technology that we're using to effectively show with pictures, much more visualization about what it is that we're seeing and what we're doing. And this of course really matters in this day and age because we have so much data and the data is so rich, and it's so much easier to show the numbers as opposed to using those words on a phone call. Now, just to give you a sense on the show's breakdown, it's all about process, rinse and repeat. But what we start with are what we call the top three things. The top three things are the top three things in all of global macro. Again, we're not just talking about what's going on in the US, what's happening in China, what's happening in terms of the price of copper, what's happening in Europe. Top three things will select those big three things that I think are worth calling to your attention and putting them at the top of your prioritization during that market day. Then we get into line by line, literally line by line, in terms of my notebook, my process. We go around the US, then we go around the world. We do Asia first, then we do Europe, then we do commodities, we do interest rates and currencies. It's a repeatable process that you can deliberately study. And that's where we'll also give you a lot of augmenting pieces of information or data within a stat pack so that you can follow along, study it yourself. Again, measure, map the data, process, process, process. This is what we're doing when we go throughout that first 15 minutes of the show. Now, a little bit about the Q&A or your questions. Just because I highlight the top three things in my notebook as what I see as the top three things, you might care about something else. So for example, if I'm talking about Japan and China and you want to talk about the FANG stocks, well then I'll answer questions to the extent that I can on the FANG stocks. Now, why do I think this is so valuable? Well, the show itself, of course, I wouldn't talk to myself for 15 minutes unless I thought there was some value, but there's that stat pack. There's a tremendous amount of data that we're providing there. The world wakes up quite differently every day now. They talk about politics, they talk about emotion, they talk about a lot of the things that we don't quite want to waste your time with. We want to be data-driven, we want to be apolitical. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, I am a Canadian, by the way. The true value is in having a process. And a process is quite different when you're measuring and mapping, sequencing, measuring, mapping. Sequencing, measuring, mapping data as opposed to political opinion. There are a lot of people that wake up every morning and deal with headline to headline. We call that macro tourism. We take a snapshot of what it is that people are talking about that day, then we talk about that. That's not what we actually do on the Macro Show. We're measuring and mapping time series to time series of data. So it's not going headline to headline and getting whipped around. It's actually being so much more dispassionate about it and making good decisions that are data driven. Now, a big part of this is being on a team. I love being on teams. We have a great team here we built at Hedgeye. We have over 40 analysts and growing. What I'm constantly doing is drawing on their insights. Don't forget that they're organized by vertical of expertise. So that means that we have a healthcare team, we have a retail and apparel team, we have an energy team. We have a lot of teams within the team, and I wouldn't dare have an opinion unless I sourced my teammates' expertise. So that's really important. In as much as you being on the team is important, don't forget that you're the one who gets to ask the questions. You're questioning my premise, you're asking me to explain what it is that I do, which is a really important component to learning. And that, to me, is one of the most important parts about this show. So we'd love to have you on our team. Come join us.